For the SY and FI, we have told them to watch from YouTube.
That's great.
All right. Sanket at 4 sharp, make YouTube live, not before that. The moment Munmay starts, Munmay Asmita. Asmita and Munmay, welcome.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, Surya, ma'am.
So both of you all can put your camera on because we're going to start the session. Take the permission of HOD ma'am and then start it.
Yes, madam. Please start.
And we'll just wait for another 1 minute. Or is it 4?
It's just a minute, so we are just closing to 4. A minute to go. All the best, Mranmay. All the best, third years.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, ma'am, we are ready to go live.
It's just a minute, so we are just closing to 4. A minute to go. All the best, Mranmay. All the best, third years.
Thank you, ma'am.
We are ready to go live.
Yeah. Please spotlight on Munmay Sanket. Yeah, go live.
Spotlight on Asmita.
Okay. Spotlight on Asmita. Loud and clear, Asmita. We'd love to hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Can we start, ma'am?
Let's start, Asmita. Ma'am said yes. Sanket, go live. Are we live, Sanket?
Yes, ma'am, we are live.
All right. On the count of 1, 2, and 3, Asmita, please go ahead. Thank you.
A very warm welcome to everyone. I am Asmita Patil and
Good afternoon. I am Mranmay Kulkarni.
student from third year, and we will be moderating today's event, Walk the Talk. During these unpredictable times, we, the student of Kumba BBHFM, are delighted to have Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti here with us to discuss insights about railway catering and open us discussion on case study. To start the event, I would like our course coordinator of Kumba BBHFM, Dr. Deepa Prasad, to give the session objectives. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Asmita. It's lovely to see you. You've come a long way, and it's wonderful to see you address the session today as a moderator. On behalf of Dr. Jain and all the colleagues at Kumba and BBHFM, my colleagues who are there today, I'd like to welcome Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti, Deputy General Manager of IRCTC. It's an honor and privilege to have you out here, sir. This Walk the Talk session has been led by our final year students. It is to invite professionals from the service sector to understand the management and operations of the railway. In today's session, of course, we're going to do about transport, our focus being Indian Railways, one of the largest railways network, with a focus also on the services and F&B management, on how Indian Railways copes with the different array of services which they offer over a period of time. Our case study will focus on the services provided by IRC we have shared with you. And then it will be an open discussion between the students, and we look forward for a very, very enriching and learning session. Thank you, Asmita and Nurmay.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request our HOD of Department of Management Sciences, Dr. Surbi Jain, to address the audience. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Asmita. A very good afternoon to all. It's my honor and my privilege to welcome Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti, who's Deputy GM, IRCTC, coming from Indian Railways and has tremendous experience and would be sharing his case study with us. Hearty welcome to you, sir. I also welcome my faculty colleagues, Dr. Deepa Prasad, Dr. Rajiv, all students who have joined for this session, and all viewers who are watching us live on YouTube. A warm welcome to all. Sir brings with him tremendous experience from his vast working profile that he has been having. and is handling a huge portfolio presently. And I'm sure this afternoon we will really enjoy and learn from his experiences in catering, in hospitality, and in services. A warm welcome to you, sir, again. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you, Murmai.
Thank you, ma'am. Without further ado, we would like our guest for today to take this session forward. Asmita?
Okay.
Just a minute, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Today we have with us Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti, Deputy General Manager IRCTC. He is the regional head of IRCTC East Coast activities based in Bhubaneswar. IRCTC group business verticals include, but it is not restricted to catering, tourism, ticketing, e-catering, packaged drinking water, which is Rail Neer. Rail Neer is a IRCTC brand, non-railway catering and facilities management, and all other activities assigned it by Government of India and Rail Ministry from time to time. IRCTC is the largest commerce player in India by a huge margin. I would like all our students to know this. It's not Flipkart or Amazon. Flipkart barely touches 10,000 crore and IRCTC regularly exceeds 20,000 crore in e-commerce transactions. They are PSU under the Ministry of Railway, which recently had a blockbuster in the stock market with a turnover of around 2,500 crore, which is really huge. We are really glad to have such a dynamic personality to guide us with us today. I request Mr. Sanjay Chakravarti to take this session ahead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your warm welcome. Good afternoon, friends. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Deepa Prasad for inviting me over here. And I would also like to thank Dr. Prafulla Pawar and Dr. Surabhi Jain. They have all been very nice and kind and given me an opportunity to learn from the future leaders in the catering and hospitality space. Just to give you a certain amount of background about what IRCTC is all about. IRCTC, like I said, it's a PSU. It's a public sector undertaking run by the Ministry of Railways. Now, just to give you, put it into perspective, a PSU, like you have these major oil companies like, ONGC, Bharat Petroleum, Hindustan Petroleum. All of these are independent companies under the Ministry of Oil and Gas. Okay. So similarly, the Ministry of Railways has independent companies that they employ to take care of certain niches in their vast business spectrum. Okay. So IRCTC was created in 1999 to take care of all catering, ticketing, tourism, and related activities for the Indian Railways network. And although the company was created in 1999, we actually started operations in about 2004. And I joined the company in the year 2007. So I've been with the company since its initial days when the company was just starting up. And we have gone from that point on to, to fairly, even if I say so myself, fairly big things in the intervening 15, 16 years. Just to put it into perspective, our company has been a profit-making company from day one. I mean, right from the beginning in the year 2004, when IRCTC started commercial operations, we have been making a profit, which is not what you can say for a lot of other PSUs that are run by the government. Okay, na? And just to give you an idea, we have in the year 2020, we had a IPO, initial public offering. We were listed on the stock market, and we had a very good stock market response. I mean, like, just to our initial offer price was about 336 rupees, and we opened at 700 plus. So, more than 100% jump on the very first day of listing. And right now it's at about very close to 1700 rupees per share. So that is a completely separate matter. But this just puts into perspective the fact that IRCTC is a forward-looking company, and we have had the pleasure of having very dynamic bosses at the top who were able to foresee the catering landscape and the way it would open out in the railways, sector of that business. Okay, so just to give you a small breakdown on what we are doing, we currently have a turnover of about 2,500 crores. We hit the 1,000 crore mark in the year, say, approximately 2014-15. And in 5 years, we've gone from 1,000 crores to 2,000 crores, which was done in the year 1920, and now we'll be taking one step further. The catering activities on the Indian Railways is huge, vast. I mean, like I said, as a basic, I mean, like I said, the Railways has a very unique way of accounting for where its funds and where its this thing comes from. I mean, where its revenues come from. And a back of the paper or a back of the envelope calculation tells us that the turnover of the catering and food related activities of the Indian Railways is somewhere in the region of 5 to 5,500 crores. Okay, now, so the fact that we are running the catering operation of the Indian Railways means that we are still only covering a part of the operations, whereas a major portion of it is still being handled by the railways. And there are reasons for it. There are multiple reasons for it. Just to put things into give you another perspective, we are a PSU. Yes, it is our objective to make profits and we share the dividend with the government. Yes, but we also do a lot of activities which are laid down by the government as as a social activity. Like, we sell a lot of products and a lot of food items and a lot of catering services at below the market price. Now, as all of you are, management students, so you probably would understand that, each and every product has your material cost, your labor cost, your overheads, and then you have all of those things are accounted for. IRCTC engages in business. Where we do a lot of social work. It is done by IRCTC as a public service kind of an activity, and we do not make any money on it. I mean, if you look up some of the work that we do on the internet, I mean, you just need to look up the menu that is served on Indian trains. I mean, there's something called as a Janta Khan, which sells for about 15 rupees. And for that 15 rupees, you get 7 puris, 175 grams worth of puris, and 150 grams of aloo ki sabzi, and 1 pickle ka sachet, everything packed in a nice cardboard box and given to the passenger, and the whole thing costs 15 rupees. Okay, now, so I mean, that doesn't even begin to cover the costs of delivering that product to the passengers. But we do it because it is mandated by the government that we do it at that cost. And that was just one example. We do multiple activities like that. Multiple products are available with us, which we sell to the passengers at below cost. Okay, most of you people must have traveled by train. I mean, I guess the last year and a half has been a little down as far as train travel is concerned. But if you ever notice on the train ticket, it is mentioned over there that depending on what ticket you buy, if you buy a second AC or a third AC ticket, it will be mentioned over there that you are paying only about 80% of the actual amount it costs the railways to transport you from point A to point B. If you're traveling on a sleeper class ticket, that subsidy goes up to 68%. that means you are only paying about 32% of the actual cost of transporting that particular passenger from point A to point B. So the railways has always been, an organization created to deliver public service. Profit making is not a criteria for the railways. But that said and done, it is a standard this thing in management, a standard diktat in management, that if your business is not making profits, you are not following you're not following good business practices. It's as simple as that. So IRCTC was created as a small offshoot of the railways to ensure that food services and deliveries that are done to the passengers is in keeping with the highest standards possible. And we have tried very hard to live up to that promise. Just to give you an example of all the things that we do, IRCTC has multiple verticals, even in the catering segment of work. We will not discuss the ticketing and the tourism part because I guess that is not relevant to what we are discussing over here. But IRCTC has what we broadly call two business verticals. One is your mobile catering, what we call mobile catering. For a lay person, that would be all food and food related services and activities connected with meal service on the trains while the train is in motion. Okay. And the second part is your what we call static catering. The stalls, the food outlets, and the units that we have on the station premises to cater for the passengers. And apart from that, then we have our Rail Neer brand. Okay, I mean, just to put it into perspective, our Rail Neer brand generated revenues of about close to 140 crores last year. Then we have what is known as our e-catering venture, which was, pioneered by IRCTC. For people who might not be familiar with it, e-catering is basically done on an app-based system. You download it's called Food on Track. That's the name of the app. You download that app on your phone, and if you enter your train number, it all automatically picks up what the route of your train is. It picks up where your next stop is going to be, and it will give you options to order meals from major catering vendors or service providers available on the next platform. I mean, as long as you give the system a 2-hour lead time, you can basically sit on your seat on the running train and order your meal. You can pay for it online or do a cash on delivery. All of those options are available. So that is our e-catering venture, and right now we are very close to 100 crores as far as our e-catering venture is concerned. Of course, the financial results for the year 2021 are still to come out. So there might be a downturn in all of our business verticals, but up until the last year, that was the figure that we were working with. And apart from that, we also do a lot of other stuff. We do facilities management. We have something called as our budget hotel. Budget hotels that we run and operate. We also run and operate the retiring rooms on the platforms. The railways, they have these guest rooms available at most major platforms, where a person with a valid ticket, if he has to travel on the next day, or if he has a travel within 12 hours of the time he reaches the platform, he can check into that room and pay a very nominal fee and stay there, for 6 to 12 hours. So we run those as well. We are in the process of taking over all of those units from the railways, and so the retiring room is going to be another one of our portfolios once this lockdown period becomes comes to an end. And again, trains, of course, meal service on the trains. So just to put it into another, give you a little more detail on how we go about doing our catering activities on the trains. We have what is known as a licensee model. We have multiple business models that we follow to provide catering services to the trains and on static units. one of our primary one of our primary ways in which we do it is what we call as a licensing model of operation. In the licensing model of operation, what we do is that we float a tender for a given train or a static unit or any unit that we want to use for our services. And after that tendering process is done, that contractor is given a a term between 3 years, 5 years, 9 years, depending on what business you're talking about, what line of business you're talking about, what vertical of business you're talking about, and we use them to provide the services to the passengers. And our job then becomes to monitor and ensure that the person is complying with the terms and conditions of the tender, and the fact that he is providing the services to the passengers the way in which it's supposed to be done. I'm sure that we will be discussing the case study, and the case study is basically about about in the year 2010 as to why the railways decided to take the catering services back from IRCTC. The case study, like I said, we'll get into that later. But right now, the licensing model of train operations has worked out pretty well, but there is always a cost associated with it. Any business that you do or undertake has cost associated with it. So, like we were talking about it earlier, like you have your material cost, you have your labor cost, you have your overheads. And right now, the way in which the service and the food production and service industry is fanning out, certification is becoming a more and more important part of what we do and how we justify, our service standards. Now, in today's world, it is all about being certified. It is all about having a standard which is measurable and which is compatible with the best practices in the industry. So I'm sure that you all being business graduates and about to enter the work stream, you must have all learned about the HACCP program, hazard analysis and critical control point, ISO 22000, and so on and so forth. So we as IRCTC, we are one of the primary movers as far as implementation of those standards are concerned on the Indian Railways network. We have a system by which trains and the food services delivered on the trains, they are certified, and they are the entire front end and the back end of the operations, the food service operations, is charted, mapped, and certified by either HACCP or ISO 22000 to ensure that the best quality of food and service is provided in the financial limitations imposed on on the meal cost imposed by us. And that is another very important fact. Like I said, 50% of the business that we do is business that we have very little control over, in the sense we have no independent scope for setting up of prices. A lot of the food items that we sell on our network is basically governed by the Ministry of Railways. They tell us that X amount of food or X food item needs to be sold at X the price. We have no independent pricing control on that. So that's about 50% of the work that we do. The remaining 50%, of course, it's run on the commercial model, and we have independent pricing control. But just to give you an idea, a breakfast, which would be 2 slices of cutlet, a veg breakfast with 2 slices of cutlet, with 2 slices of bread, with 10 grams of butter and a sauce ka sachet, that sells for about 40 rupees. And similarly, we have a non-veg breakfast costs only 50 rupees, a veg meal costs 80 rupees, a non-veg meal with a egg-based gravy costs 90 rupees. So these are prices in today's environment which are, for want of a better word, wafer thin margins, absolutely wafer thin margins. but that is the way it is. That is the way we have to go ahead with the plan, because like I said, the railways operates on a principle of providing service to the passengers rather than making money. Okay, na? So as far as the railway is concerned, IRCTC may or may not make money, but the service needs to be delivered to the passengers, and we do our best to ensure that the service gets delivered and we manage to survive. I mean, we are not just surviving, we are doing pretty well actually. But like I said, that is primarily because we have other business verticals that make up for the wafer thin margins and or losses that we make in our catering sphere of activities. So like I said, this is basically just a small breakup or a rundown of what IRCTC does, its business verticals and so on and so forth. I'm sure we can get into more details if you want to know about it. If this is I think this is more than enough as far as an introduction is concerned. I would like to get down to discussing the case study if it's okay with everybody else.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So on, you can start presenting. But before that, I want to know, maybe you can just give us a brief, because none of us know. We know about catering and railways. While you're talking,
Okay.
about the tourism wing of IRCTC also.
Okay, the tourism wing of IRCTC has, we basically leverage our connections with the Indian Railways to offer multiple types of tourist packages. Like we have something known as rail tour packages, we have domestic air ticket packages, we have international packages. So it's basically very simple. IRCTC has divided the country into 5 zones for our administrative purposes. So we have a north zone, west zone, east zone 1 and 2, and south zone. Okay, na? So what happens is that each and every zone is responsible for finalizing a list of aggregators and people who want to work with us, either in the form of like basically people who can do the back end services like booking of the transport, booking of the hotels, booking of the transit from point A to point B. We leverage our connection with the railways to get priority ticket bookings and so on and so forth. So all of those things, they tie in the individual zones. They like I said, have their own set of aggregators. And suppose me being in Bhubaneswar, I want to launch a package from Bhubaneswar to say maybe Mumbai and a few other places in and around Mumbai. I get the rates from our West Zone office. I price it accordingly, add maybe a 5% or a 7% margin as far as our profitability is concerned, and then the package gets put out. Apart from that, we also do a lot of other things. We also associate with the government in what is known as educational and institutional tours. We tie up with educational institutions, government-based educational institutions who wish to take their students out for a trip. It might be an educational trip, it might be a picnic or whatever, interstate trip or whatever. So we take care of that as well. We associate with other government organizations and PSUs if and when they have their travel requirements. We take care of that as well. So that is part of our tourism activities. I mean, just to give you an idea, in the last financial year, in the year 1920, our catering related activities came up to about 800 to 900 crores, and tourism was also around that figure, about 800 to 900 crores. So that is basically how it is. Tourism is growing big time. I mean, it's at least it was before this pandemic situation happened, and we've been pretty much it's been non-existent as far as for the last 15 months or so. International tour packages is again something that we were promoting and going after in a very big way before this COVID situation came up. So that is as far as our tourism part is concerned. Any other specific details that you would like to know?
I think we'll go over to Mrunmay. We'll do the case study and then come on to it.
Okay, man. Good luck.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful information. We travel a lot and frequently by train, but we were not aware about all these facilities. And for sure, my next travel, I will use these facilities. Moving forward, I would like my classmate Soham to spotlight on the case study about IRCTC. Over to you, Soham.
Thank you, Mrunmai. So, good afternoon, everybody. So, first we'll have a talk about what is Indian Railways and how IRCTC is related to Indian Railways. So, Indian Railways is a statutory body under the Ministry of Railways. So it has one of the fourth largest railway network in the world, and also the and also one of the top 10 biggest organization to employ uh, the highest number of people in the entire world, and also the top first to employ the highest number of people in India. So IRCTC, also known as Indian Railways Catering and Tourism Corporation, is a subsidiary of Indian Railways. So IRCTC is one of the arm of Indian Railways, and they have a specific sector, and they focus only on catering, tourism, and ticketing services that are provided to the Indian Railways. So, key areas for improvement for our CTC. So, information about food catering services. So, in case we have veg and non-veg, so the passengers should have the freedom to choose whichever meal they want to have. So, how to handle guest complaint regarding catering services provided to the passengers, quality assurance of the food provided to the passengers, and it also should be monitored uh, under proper guidance, and the standard should be up to the mark. So ways to provide good facilities to the passengers. So then we can have a quality check program, have a third party audit for checking the quality and level of service provided. So at times what happens that if there is a quality check audit inside the organization, then there can be some chances that proper information is not given to the higher authority, and so the changes are not done. So there should be a third party audit to give exact results. Appoint catering service supervisors for monitoring food qualities in train, not only on the platform, but there should be supervisors to look after the quality in the train after the passenger receives the food. Have a single POS system for bill payment. So the point of sale system should means it should be like common to a zone or common to the whole nation. So according to the situation and the demographics, it should be managed. So decide the meal charges. So there should be a proper meal charges, and which should be affordable to all the sectors uh, of the people who are traveling in train. So have a dedicated team to look after the operations of IRCTC. So the outcome of the measures taken. So after the measures are implied, IRCTC had issued notice to about 47 onboard catering providers, and given them direction to bring about changes and to follow up the standards. The measures has also allowed for addressing grievances of the passengers on board directly to the concerned person, and monitoring food quality and hygiene levels in the catering service units resulted in a rise of standard of food provided. Means they also liked the new service, and it was also up to the mark, and there was a rise in usage of biodegradable material while catering the passengers, keeping in the harmful effects of plastic in mind. So with this, I would conclude my presentation, and we are open to questions.
Thank you, Soham, for such a illuminating case study. Now we are open for question and answer session. I would now request Deep and Varat to moderate the session. Over to you, Deep
Uh,
and Varat.
Thank you, Mrunmay. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. Sir, we have a bunch of questions for you. Starting with the first question, we have first question from Sanket. He says that the IRCTC has such a blockbuster revenue, but what exactly is the secret that serving catering at such a low cost and still having so much of amazing profits?
Uh, like I said, IRCTC has specialized and developed a system whereby we can make do with really wafer thin margins. Okay, now just to put things into perspective, when, like I said, we don't have for at least for half the items that we sell, we don't have the authority to decide the price. The price is set by the Indian Railways. And okay, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, you've read the case study, right? Hello. Yeah. If you've read the case study, why do you think, I mean, like, there's one line in the case study which mentions why the catering services was taken away from IRCTC in the year 2010. Can somebody just mention what that reason was? Anybody? It's a
Any student, it's open to all.
Due to complaints about no proper food facility provided.
exactly. Now, why did that happen? Now, let me just say, like, there was there's a very interesting quote by Rabindranath Tagore. He basically said that, I mean, open the windows wide and let the sunshine in. But, I mean, like, when you open the window wide, only the sunshine doesn't come in. You have dust, dirt, and a whole bunch of other things that come in as well. Okay, na? When IRCTC took over catering operations, I mean, actual operations in the year 2004, 2005, IRCTC implemented a policy of registration of complaints, which was pretty much non-existent in the railway times. We introduced multiple levels at which passengers could bring their grievances to our notice. We instituted an online calling platform, 139. We put up online portals. When the passengers were served a meal, along with that they got a pamphlet with the menu written on it and a number where they could complain, and so on and so forth. And the reason for that was that the people like us who had joined IRCTC, we were all from the hospitality background. And you all understand, you all know how much feedback from the guest is important to us if we want to improve our service. Okay, now, so what happened was, between the time frame of 2005 and 2010, earlier, when there was absolutely no scope, zero scope for a passenger to lodge a complaint or complain about the quality of food or the quality of service, we gave them half a dozen ways in which they could lodge a complaint or tell us, because we took it as feedback. We did not think in terms of, it is basically somebody's saying bad things about you, because we are all from a hospitality background. We want to know what the passenger thinks about us so that we can improve the service. And the railways in 2010, when they looked at the passenger complaint and feedback data over the last 5 years, they took it in isolation. They said that, prior to 2004 and 5, there used to be zero complaints. Now there are thousands of complaints. That means IRCTC is not doing a good job. But that was not the case. We were trying to learn from the system. We were trying to learn from the feedback so that we could implement ground level changes to make the entire system better. Okay, now. The railways took the catering away from us in 2010. I mean, 2010-11. I mean, it was very late 2010-11. And they gave it back to us in 2017. Because the railways realized that, the fact that we had opened so many avenues to the passengers for them to lodge a complaint, it was impossible for them to shut those doors again, because the people had already gotten a taste of what it's like to get improved services once you give your feedback. So during those intervening 5 or 6 years, when the railways took the catering back, uh, it didn't really result in any reduction in the number of complaints. Now, just to put things into perspective, the Indian Railways, about 13 to 16 million people travel on a daily basis. And the number of complaints that we receive is about 1,000, 1,200 complaints. That means one person in 1,000 complaints. Now, if you put that in terms of, in hospitality terms, any five-star hotel would be pleased to have a 0.001% poor feedback rating when they treat their customers. So that is what we have done. We have opened up the forum to inputs from passengers, good or bad. We don't take a bad review or a bad comment in the sense that he's complaining about us. Of course, it causes, it raises questions and makes us answerable for those questions, but we take it in the positive sense. We want those inputs so that we can streamline and make our systems better. And that is the only way. You said how we survive on such wafer thin margins. It is basically because we have been able to increase the volume of the work that we do. And that is why even with those wafer thin margins, we can still survive. Next question.
The second question is from Ravi sir. Sir says, as stated, IRCTC follows HACCP. How IRCTC makes sure that the food reach to the passenger is safe, as many of the time food received have a dangerous on temperature.
We are, like I said, I mean, we are in the process of implementing multiple systems, I mean, which have sort of like been put on hold right now because of the situation in the last 1 year or so. But we are, like I said, we are the pioneers as far as implementation of food safety standards on the Indian Railways is concerned. Now, just to give you this thing, we don't just operate on HACCP protocols. We try to implement ISO 22000 protocols. Just to give you an example, I used to be in charge of, when I was in West Zone, I used to be in charge of the base kitchen that we had, which supplied meals to Rajdhani and Shatabdi trains. We would do about 6,500 meals a day. And that kitchen was a ISO certified kitchen. The ISO 22000 certification process was done through there's a company called Messrs. Rights, which is again another company owned by the Indian Railways, and another company called IBP, Indo-British Certifications. It's a multinational company which does certification, ISO certification of companies, and we went through them and we got our ISO certification done. Then we engaged a company called TUV SUD. Even that's a multinational company which does third-party audits to ensure that the work that we are doing is up to spec, and so on and so forth. Okay, now just another small question for you. Do you understand or do you know the difference between what is a HACCP certified unit and a ISO 22000 certified unit? Anyone? I mean, can anyone tell me what the difference is? In broad terms, I'm not looking at too many. I'm not asking for too many details. Anyone? Anyone? Hello?
Anyone, yes or no?
No idea, sir.
Sir, can I give it a try?
Yeah, fine. Please go ahead.
So,
Yes or no?
I think so. ISO is Indian organization that has food and then food and security norms. And HACCP is, I think so, American organization that looks under food and drugs.
Well, not exactly. ISO stands for International Standards Organization. So even that is an international standard. Okay, na. Just to put it into very broad perspective, HACCP is hazard analysis and critical control point. That means what you do in your food production or food service vertical that you want to get certified, you analyze and find out what the critical points are where contamination or a hazard manifests itself. Okay, that is your HACCP. Now you take it 2 steps further and you have ISO 22000. You don't just isolate the critical control point, you do a backward and a forward integration. In the sense, like suppose you have a food and it has to be maintained at a certain temperature. You know, I mean, like the food has to be, once it is cooked, it has to be kept out of the danger zone. Anybody know what is the danger zone of the food? I mean, what is the ideal holding temperature for your food? Anyone?
5 to 60, 5 to 55 degrees centigrade.
Good enough. Good enough. So basically, you want to maintain your food either below 5 or above 55. Okay, now. If your unit is ISO 22000 certified, you don't just take care of the basic infrastructure required to ensure that you can do that. You also make sure that your transport, your logistics, everything else in the forward, when the food is prepared and until it's delivered to the passenger, the entire logistics chain is taken care of. That means you are responsible for the food trolleys, the cold food trolleys or insulated food trolleys. You have to ensure that the people who are handling the food, they have certification, they have, they know what they are doing, and it has to be monitored until the very end. And even before that, before the food is prepared, each and every item of the food has to be purchased and prepared at as per a certified standard. If you're cooking dal or if you're cooking rice, you want to make sure that the water reaches the temperature of 125 degrees centigrade. The rice and dal that you purchase has to be to a certain standard. Okay, na? So ISO 22000 is basically leaps and bounds beyond what HACCP does. And we aim to provide an ISO 22000 level of certification to the food that goes out to the passengers. And like I said, it is not possible to cater to the entire country with that level of service. It is being rolled out in a phase-wise manner, where the major stations will be covered first, the major trains will be covered first, and then it will be rolled out to all the various units and various mobile outlets. But that is what we are doing. We are following a quality standards protocol which matches the best in the world. And just to put it into perspective, you have your food cost, labor cost, overheads. The cost of implementing this quality control protocol adds anywhere between 7 and 10% to the cost structure of the meal. Okay, so I mean, just so that you understand that quality has a price. You have to pay to get the quality that you want. And again, then you do an analysis of cost to performance ratios and so on and so forth. I mean, what level of quality do you want and how much money do you want to spend on it? Because at a certain point of time, the cost of implementing a certain quality structure becomes more cumbersome than actually delivering the quality, delivering the food. So I mean, those are trade-offs that you make. I mean, I guess once you get down to actually working in the industry, you will figure out what those costs and benefits and analysis that you do, how they actually work out. Yeah. Next question, please. Thank you.
Next question is, how will privatization of trains affect the railway catering and its positive and negative impacts?
The positive impact is that we are able to control and dictate the terms. Like I said, we privatize the trains on a tender basis. The tender might be for a period of year and a half, maybe 2 years. Okay, na? And the lessons that we learn during that 2-year operation of that contract period, we incorporate those changes into the next contract that we give out. Like I said, the various feedback and helpline numbers and the complaint numbers that we have uh, delivered to the passengers helps us fine tune the contract so that the next time when the contract goes out, it contains safeguards and conditions in place to ensure that the licensee is meeting those targets, and to ensure that the licensee is doing what he's supposed to do, because ultimately it's a business. Every businessman wants to make as much money as possible, but we are there to ensure that he does not defraud the passenger as far as for quality of food and services are concerned. And for that, we actually have a cadre of dedicated supervisors and workmen. We also hire industry professionals as hospitality supervisors on contract basis, who are deputed on the trains, and they travel with the train end to end, from the original destination till the final destination, and they keep track of what the licensee is doing on the train. And it is mandated that that person, while he's on the train, he will take a minimum of 50 feedbacks. I mean, we have given them digital pads where they can take feedback from the passengers. It is hooked up to our background, internet and data processing center. The feedback goes directly to our data processing center where we can collate and analyze the data. So, like I said, I mean, these things were in the process of being rolled out in a massive way before the COVID situation happened, and hopefully, maybe in a year's time, whenever the system goes back to normal, we can take it much further. Any other clarifications required?
No, sir.
Yeah.
The next question we have: how do you handle the guests who are not satisfied with the catering service, and how can we minimize the food wastage in transport catering?
Guest satisfaction is a very important factor for us. And like I said, since our catering supervisor or our monitoring person is on the train, most trains, I mean, I'm not saying that we cover 100% of the trains which run on the Indian Railways network. But since our supervisor is there on the train now, like I said, I mean, the passenger on the train, he has the ability to directly tag the Minister of Railways and send his complaint directly to him. I mean, that is the level of openness that we have allowed, or we have, we want the system to have. And once that system gets logged onto the, onto the system or onto the portal, the system automatically tracks the supervisor who's there on the train, and a message goes to his, his phone or the pad that he's carrying, and he will physically go and meet the passenger, try and understand what his grievance is, and maybe provide an alternate food, or maybe make an alternate arrangement, or at least, if not anything else, give us feedback as to what the passenger was actually trying to convey. Okay, na? So like I said, we are trying to do as much as possible to interact with the passengers and get feedback directly from them. And as far as the food quality is concerned, the food quality, again, I will not make the claim that we provide the absolute best food available, because the quality of the food is very much dependent on the price that you pay for it. I mean, you can have a plate of samosa at a roadside stall for 20 rupees, but you go and have the same thing in a Udupi restaurant, it's going to cost you, I don't know, 60 to 80 rupees. You go and have that in a 5-star hotel, it's going to cost you $1,000. So the delivery of quality is very much dependent on the price that you pay for it. but we strive to give the best quality possible at the even at the price that the railway dictates that the passenger pay for it. And like I said, in a lot of cases, we provide the food and the quality which costs more to deliver to the passenger than what we get paid for it. But that is fine. You know, I mean, like there are certain quality standards that you can't go below. You know, I'm just saying you cannot always give the absolute best quality possible, but there are certain quality standards that we as hospitality professionals will not go below. Especially, I will not accept a poor or substandard product. I will not, if I don't consume it myself, I will not allow that same product to be delivered to a passenger. Okay, na? So we are doing our best within the constraints imposed on us by the system to ensure that a safe, hygienic product is given to our passengers. Yeah, the next question.
Good evening, sir. My name is Varad Borake, and I'll be asking a few questions.
Yeah.
What challenges did the railway catering department face during the pandemic? And how did you work on them? How did you overcome those problems?
Okay. Yeah, the pandemic has been a pretty tough situation for us because the standard level of intervention and the standard level of monitoring and inspections and everything else that we do to ensure that the quality of service does not deteriorate, we could not maintain those levels. I mean, just for the simple fact that we did not want to put our staff at the risk involved in doing it. But what we have done is that we have taken a step whereby we have minimized or eliminated cooked food on the train. Now, I don't know whether you're familiar with the situation or not, but a lot of the trains, they have pantry cars. You know, a licensee or a service provider is engaged by us to run that pantry car on that train. So, since we cannot deploy our supervisor or our monitoring staff to monitor what he is doing on the train, we have basically shut down all cooking activities on the train. And what we have promoted is RTE foods, ready-to-eat foods. Ready-to-eat foods, either the dehydrated kind where you have to add water and then reheat it up, or the simple RTE packaging, retort packaging, which you can just open the packet and eat it. I mean, that is what actually just for background information. I was part of the food trials that we did with the DFRL, Defense Food Research Laboratories, where we created, where I worked with them on the menu and the preparation of food items that is actually served to the Indian Army. So we have developed and worked with DFRL to pioneer the technology, and that was supposed to be rolled out under an IRCTC branding sometime soon, but again, it has been delayed because of the pandemic. So that is what we're doing. The cooking on the train has been stopped or absolutely brought down to a minimum level. We are promoting RTE foods, ready-to-eat foods. We are promoting packaged goods, packaged foods. It's basically, for want of a better word, biscuits and wafers and everything else that comes in a packaged format, and packaged drinking water. So that is how we are controlling the food that is being served to the passengers. So hopefully when the system goes back to normal, we will re-implement the systems and protocols required to roll out cooked food services again. But as of now, that is the protocol. We are sticking to RTE and packed foods for the passengers, for their safety and to relieve our monitoring and inspection burdens. Yeah.
Okay. Second question was, what changes would you suggest in railway catering post-pandemic?
The railway catering is, like I said, it operates on the system is, for want of a better word, not geared towards modern catering practices. Like if any of you are familiar with airline catering, the food that is prepared in the commissary or in the kitchen specializing in airline catering. They have, they have these individual portion sizes, boxes and food trays, which then go into a hot case or they go into a cold case, and that entire thing is transported in a refrigerated container to the airport, and it is then loaded into the airport, and with and then it goes straight into their cold cases. So you see, they have that entire back end chain to manage the food and the state in which it is in, right from the hotel up till the point where it is served to the passenger on the airline. None of that exists on the railway network. So it's a very tough task. We are working with the railways to ensure that the train coaches have at least a mini pantry where hot water. Your voice is breaking up. I can't hear you. Hello. So just to wrap it up, like I said, we are working with the railways to ensure that the basic infrastructure required for modern food delivery and catering services on the Indian Railways network gets implemented at the most basic level. Pantries on trains, holding areas on the stations, base kitchens near stations where the food can be pre-prepared and loaded, and a lot of other things. We want the cold cases, we want microwave ovens, we want hot cases to be implemented across all the coaches and pantry cars of the Indian Railways network, which is going to take time. It is not a small task. It is a huge Herculean task. But like I said, we are slowly chipping away at it. Hopefully, we should have positive results in the future.
I'm going to a little bit come in, Mr. Chakravarti, because we decided to keep it, you don't want to extend your time beyond the point. Two questions I want to club in. How does the e-catering work? Because that's something I wanted to know. Our students also wanted to know that if they want to join railways or IRCTC organization, what are the apps for people graduating out? So these are two different questions. How does e-catering work, and who is using it? The type of passengers, different for different passenger trains. And of course, the last question they wanted to ask you was, how do we get into an organization such as yours?
Okay, fine. First, to deal with the e-catering part, the e-catering, like I said, it's an app-based system. Okay, and we have a system whereby we earmark and shortlist major catering establishments in a given city, and we empanel them. And then we give them authorization and we give them passes so that they can come on the platform and deliver the food on the train. But the entire system is app based. Just to give you an idea, IRCTC has a very, very, very strong IT base because we do ticketing on a massive scale. Just for your information, we spend about 300 crores every alternate year updating our back-end IT systems, because that is what is required when you want to do, when you want to book 8 lakh tickets on a daily basis. That is the kind of IT backbone and structure you require, and your IT hardware becomes outdated within 2 to 3 years. So we invest 300 crores a year as far as our IT structure is concerned. So that same IT backbone has been leveraged by IRCTC to roll out this e-catering platform, app-based. You can sit on a train, and as long as you have a 2-hour gap between when you place the order, at the next station, the food can be delivered to you on your seat wherever you might be. Okay, so I mean, that was a very, very big step for us. We started in the year 2017, and we barely did a business of about 10 crores. And right now, in 3 years' time, we are doing close to 100 crores. So, it has worked out pretty well. Going to the second part of the question as to how you can become a part of IRCTC, a little sad to say right now, but we have not recruited anybody for the last about 3.5 to 4 years for multiple reasons. But anyway, the very simple way, if you want to join IRCTC, is very simple. An ad comes out in the paper. there is no way for IRCTC to recruit anybody directly or through a recommendation or whatever. It has to be through a selection process, and the selection process is going to be a two-step or a three-step process depending on what level you want to enter in. There's going to be an initial written examination, and there will be either a GD or it might not be a GD, and then you will have a personal interview before you will be selected. You can be selected into IRCTC. And entrance examinations, they will all be advertised in major newspapers, or you can look at it is called the RRB, the Railway Recruitment Board. Railway Recruitment Board, they have their own paper. I mean, they have their own advertisement and their site where they put out all vacancies and everything else, which is it is highlighted over there. So that is the only way to get into IRCTC. There is no way, no other way to get into IRCTC. You have to go through the selection process.
I think, yeah. Is there any other last question you'd like to ask before you would like to hand over? Because, we've taken 1 hour of sir's time. Anyone else? One last question and then we wrap it up. All right. I think that's about it. I have one last question.
Okay.
Do you have different catering services for luxury train, for passenger train, commuter train, etc.? Or
yes. Yes, we do. We run quite a few luxury trains. You have, Maharaj on wheels, Palace on wheels, and a few other luxury trains. But the catering format over there is completely different. What we do, I mean, how the trains operate is very simple. IRCTC is the nodal agency that runs the train. We run it in conjunction with the state tourism department. Like in Maharashtra, it will be MTDC, Maharashtra Tourism Development Corporation. And then we tie up with a 5-star hotel to provide the catering on the train. I mean, even those trains, they contain a fully fledged and equipped pantry car. So, I mean, like the trains are very well equipped to handle the demand of the passengers. But like I said, I mean, we don't do it ourselves because, like I said, I mean, we might be very good at mass catering, for want of a better word. But the high-end stuff, we leave it to the people who are really good at it. Because the passengers on that train, they are luxury passengers. They are high-end passengers. I mean, a passenger on a Palace on wheels or a Maharaj on wheels is paying $2,000 a day per person per day. So, so he expects a certain level of service. And as good as we might be, I don't think we have the capability as of now to deliver that service. So we tie up with a 5-star hotel, and they take care of the catering on that train. So that is how the luxury train works. We tie up with the state tourism department and a 5-star hotel, and the three of us, we work together to ensure that the train runs as smoothly and as well as possible.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you so much, sir, for such insightful question and answer session. Since this was our last question, I would request Dr. Aarti Prabhu ma'am to conclude the session and give vote of thanks.
Well, thank you, Mrunmay, and thank you so much, Mr. Chakravarti, for not just joining with us today, but to share your highlights at IRCTC right from 2007 till today, and also the future plans. I, for one, and I'm sure all of us here can reiterate the fact that we did not know a lot of things that IRCTC has done over a period of time. In terms of quality consciousness, having the IT set up the way it is, and very, very proud also for all the good work that IIT has done in all this while, and best wishes for the times to come. I, for one, definitely look forward to traveling even more by train, especially a lot of parts of India that have not been explored. And this is the best opportunity to do that. So thank you so very much for joining with us today. A big thank you to our senior management, Dr. Bihar, Dr. Jain, who've always been supportive in all kinds of learning. So this is a great platform for learning and sharing. Our Deepa ma'am, who's spearheaded this particular session, very interesting to have a case study method where students take the onus and get guidance from the industry, makes learning worthwhile. Third year students, this will be the last one for you all as we come to the end of your academics, close to the end of your academics. All the best for the future. Maybe at some point you all work at IRCTC as well, like the way sir explained just now. And thank you all those who tuned in YouTube for being a great audience, great question and answer sessions. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Aarti ma'am, for the lovely vote of thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chakravarti again. I'll reconnect. Wonderful to have you. I want to tell the students you're very busy in Delhi in the current pandemic time. We went over there for some time as the government calls you, and he's just back into Bhubaneswar, I think, last week, and still agreed to come on the platform today on a weekend. So really appreciate the effort put in today. And I want to be a little bit of professorship because I'm going to take my attendance for the students after your call. So thank you, Mr. Chakravarti. All right. Students, hang
Nice.
in because on your roll call before you go off. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sanket, can you put YouTube off, please? Right. Fantastic students. Well done, Team A, whoever, all the students, you all have worked hard. I hope it was learning for you all.